Hi, everyone, and welcome to Exhausting the Literature. My name is Amanda Bezat. I'm a reference and instruction librarian, and you're welcome to follow up with me if you do have any questions related to this workshop. You can follow up with me at abezet, A-B-E-Z-E-T, at ncu.edu. I'm certainly happy to assist. Let's get started with today's content. This is going to be a comprehensive overview of techniques that you can use for exhausting the literature. So we touch on a variety of different techniques, but we don't really go in depth into any one single technique. But let's get our first stop in the process is the research process under here, under the research help drop-down menu. So we're going to pop into there and I'll show you where the corresponding content exists within this guide. If we scroll down, we'll see a section on the left called Resources for a Literature Review. At the bottom of that menu is Exhausting the Literature. So we're actually going to use this as home base today. We're going to be looking at the techniques that we outline here within this Exhausting the Literature guide. We have very specific steps to take. Again, we're going to touch on each of these, have used these techniques, seen them demonstrated in various other workshops, but in this workshop we sort of bring that all together in one sort of checklist of steps to take when exhausting the literature. But before we can get to that, let's actually talk about what that means. How do you know what is exhausting the literature, and how do you know when to stop researching? So you will know when to stop researching and the literature has been exhausted when you keep seeing the same articles and books repeatedly, even when changing your search terms and techniques. When the research has been exhausted, you will be familiar with all the key researchers, theorists, seminal studies, and recent developments in the field. Of course, there's a stopping point for that, right? At a certain point, you're not going to be researching anything newer. And for doctoral students, your dissertation chair must also be satisfied that you have comprehensively addressed the theories or concepts underlying the question you are asking, as well as the research methods and design. And before concluding that you have exhausted the research, it is important to ensure that you've done everything possible to comprehensively research your topic. So that brings us to the steps that you can take below. And before we launch into those steps, I'll just point out there's a couple of other resources here on the left-hand side of the screen that you can take a look at as it relates to exhausting the literature. So first and foremost, the first step to exhausting the literature on your research topic is making sure that you are using all of the search techniques that we demonstrate in Searching 101 and Searching 102 primarily, as well as, woven into other library workshops. But let's just we'll do a demonstration of that as well, but you want to make sure that you're using phrase searching, Boolean operators, nesting, truncation, proximity searching. All of those are going to help you to make your searches more precise and make sure you are pinpointing those articles that are really relevant to your research. So as we talk about exhausting the literature and learning those search techniques, I'm going to go back to the library's homepage just so we can do a quick example of making sure we're using appropriate search techniques. So let's say that your research topic is teachers' perceptions of remote teaching during the pandemic. So are you typing that whole question in or phrase here in the Roadrunner search box, or are you navigating to that advanced search and, like I said earlier, using all of the available search techniques? So I'll quickly demonstrate an appropriate search for this research topic using those techniques, but you will want to brush up on that if you're not familiar with it. Again, through Searching 101, also we have a live session called Advanced Search Techniques, or running research with the Roadrunners, also a good session for that. You can also contact the library for further assistance. So again, our topic is teachers' perceptions of remote teaching during the pandemic. And so here I can look for teacher within 3 words of either perceptions or attitudes or feelings. And I'm also combining that with remote instruction or remote instruct or remote instructor. So I will use that asterisk there to look for alternate endings. Of course, we have our phrase search in place. So we're looking for that as an exact phrase. And I'm also looking with a nested search for either pandemic or COVID-19 or coronavirus. And I'll close my parentheses. So we have a proximity search here, teacher within 3 words of either perception or feelings or attitude. So that's a nested search. We have a phrase search for remote instruction, but we've put the truncation there. So we look for that as alternate endings, instruct, instruction, instructor, instructors, instruction, instructions. And we also have a nested search here, pandemic or COVID-19 or coronavirus. I'm going to pop on my scholarly and peer-reviewed journals limiter and press search. So we're not going to talk about the results of this search, but I just quickly wanted to demonstrate an appropriate search related to that topic versus, just typing in what you're looking for, like teachers' perceptions of remote teaching during the pandemic. And so it's important to realize that databases operate more efficiently when you have broken your topic down into keywords and have used the search techniques to broaden or narrow your results. So that is your foundation, learning those appropriate search techniques, because you cannot exhaust the literature without being familiar with how to properly navigate through your research in the library by changing your search terms. Next, a technique you can use is called extending your search. And so as we do searches within Roadrunner, on the right-hand side of the screen, it's kind of hidden, unfortunately, sometimes under this Need Help Chat Now button, but you will see this section that says Extend Your Search over here. And so we have a number of tiles here, and the first one there is Google Scholar. So this is the one that we highly recommend clicking on because this allows you to locate additional scholarly articles related to your topic. Clicking this button will search Google Scholar using your Roadrunner search terms. And we're going to do that in a moment, but I need to modify first because using this technique, it does not work well using proximity operators like I have here. So I'm going to simplify this search just a little bit before we go further. And I'm going to go with teacher perceptions as an exact phrase. And I'm also going to do remote instruction without that a truncation there. And then I'm just going to leave it as COVID-19. So we'll do a little more simplistic search there. And I'm going to update my search results, and then we'll go back to that Google Scholar Extend Your Search button so we can see how that works. Instruction, teacher perceptions. So actually I made this pretty narrow for some reason. Remote instruction. I'm looking to see if I have a spelling error, but it looks okay up here. So it might be that it's more like teachers' perceptions. Let's see. That bumped it up a little bit. So and I can even try proper punctuation just to see if that does anything. It might be exactly the same. Yeah. Okay, so we have teachers' perceptions, remote instruction, and COVID-19. And so on the right-hand side of the screen, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Google Scholar Extend Your Search button. You'll see that that executes a new search in Google Scholar. and I have about 503 results here. Typically, when you're doing searches in Google Scholar, it is much more overwhelming. So I'm actually not quite sure why we got such succinct results here, but that's good for us. Oftentimes you do have thousands or even hundreds of thousands results in Google Scholar with not much that you can do about that. But that's okay because you can rely on the relevancy ranking in Google Scholar so that the most relevant articles should appear at the top of your results. You also do have a date limiter here on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, what you can also do is connect Google Scholar to the NCU library to make your searching more efficient. So you can see that I have these full text at NCU links set up here. So that way, if something is available in the NCU library, whereas it's not available online, such as the case of this article, we can easily navigate to that in the library. And I will show you how to set that linking up. There's also an FAQ available from the library's homepage under here, Ask a Librarian. That's how you can search across our FAQs. But I'm going to show you now how to link Google Scholar to the library in case you have not done that. So you're going to the menu and then you're going to go to Settings. And then you're going to click on Library Links. On the Library Links screen, that's where you can type in North Central or North Central University. If you type in North Central, you'll get both North Central Technical and North Central University. Obviously, we want North Central University, so we'll check that box. We will leave Open WorldCat as is, and then we will click Save, at which point it will return you wherever you were in your searching, and those full text links should appear. Now, this operates on your browser's cookies, so if you clear your cache and cookies, you use a different browser, or you use a different computer, you will have to set that linking up again. But that is a great way to easily find additional research related to searches that you've already conducted in the NCU library in the Roadrunner search. Now, of course, there's some additional tiles here on the right that you can use to explore. Statista does provide statistics, and then the ProQuest Central is a way to search within that large multidisciplinary database, and then you have an option to find dissertations and theses this route. I also recommend going there directly. So going back to our guide, we've covered learning search techniques and extending your search. Another great technique for ensuring that you have exhausted the literature in your area is making sure that you use subject terms when searching for your content. And we'll pop back in to the library's Roadrunner search so we can talk about this a little bit more. So I'm going to click on this first article here, and let's say that I'm interested in it. I don't need to go into the full text. I do want to be here on this detailed record screen because this can be really revealing in terms of subjects and keywords that have been assigned to your article. So as we scroll down here, we see some MESH terms here. MESH means medical subject headings, and that just means that this one is a little bit more geared towards the I guess the COVID-19 pandemic, so it does appear within the medical subject headings. That doesn't matter. We're looking for anything that says subject terms, author supplied keywords, or MESH terms. We'll take any of that. Because what that does is it identifies the main subjects associated with our article. And so if this is an appropriate article for us, we can use this to expand our research by looking at other articles with the same subjects. So if I wanted to execute a new search, each of these are hyperlinked. I'm going to just choose another article as another example so we can see, just a different a different record to see if there is anything different there. And so as I scroll down here, now I no longer see mesh terms, I see subject terms. And as I mentioned previously, you might also see a separate section that says author supplied keywords, which will also be hyperlinked in most cases. So here I could say, well, you know what? I am interested in remote instruction. I can execute a new search using remote instruction, and then I can either add in another subject term if I'm interested by typing that in and selecting a subject term, or I can use a keyword search here. So if I'm still looking at the teacher perception part, I can go back to that proximity search where I'm looking for teachers within 3 words of perceptions or attitudes or feelings, and there may be other terms that you want to include, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I just wanted to show you how to start out searching using a subject and then adding in keywords as well. So now we've narrowed that down significantly to just 10 results. Subject terms can be extremely helpful, so always remember to look at the subject terms and/or author-supplied keywords associated with the articles you have already found. That technique can definitely help lead you to articles that you have not located in your previous searches. Okay, going back to our handy steps to take section, we're going to talk briefly about setting up alerts. Setting up alerts, if you have not done that at this point in time, that can be extremely helpful on easily obtaining articles related to your research topic and ensuring that you have exhausted all literature in that area. And so there are various databases that offer the ability to set up alerts. We have a larger guide on database alerts and RSS feeds, which will go over the instructions and availability for each of the databases that offer it. Obviously, since we can't cover all of those databases, I'm just going to show you how to set up alerts in both the Roadrunner search and in Google Scholar. I think it is beneficial to do it definitely in those 2 resources. And then if you have a subject-specific database that you also use, you may want to do it there as well. We're going to talk more about subject databases. And so I'm going to go back to our search history, and I was liking one of those earlier searches that I did, and I'm going to go back to this view results for 345. So in the Roadrunner search, you do have the ability to set up alerts using your account here. So I'm going to collapse my search history again just to get that out of the way for us so we can look at those 341 results. If I would like to set up an email alert for myself, I can go to the share button here and then click on email alert. Now at this point in time, this feature is not working for me specifically. It is a known issue with EBSCO, and many users can use this. For some reason, I cannot at this time, even with a different internet browser. If you are unable to use the email alert function, definitely don't hesitate to get in touch with the library, but it is a glitch, a temporary glitch that EBSCO is working on currently. But had this worked, you would get a little dialog box that pops up. It asks you what email address you want it sent to. It asks you how frequently you would like these email alerts to be sent. It also allows you to change the subject line for that email. So go ahead and set those alerts up if you are happy with the search techniques that you have used. Additionally, you can set up those alerts in Google Scholar very easily as well. So you can click on Create Alert here in the bottom left corner. And once you do that, it's going to put in that alert query, those search terms that you used. If you're satisfied with that, you're just going to put in your email address. I like to choose all results, and then you will click create alert. And I think you may have to verify that alert in your email. So just make sure you go to your email and verify that you would in fact like to create that alert. At any point in time, you can cancel any database or Google Scholar alerts that you have set up as well. So that's an excellent way to stay on top of the research by finding articles related to those which you have already included in your research. All right, so let's close. No, we're going to leave that tab open in case we need it. We're going back to our steps to take, and we've gone through this top line here. The next technique is finding the citing articles, and this may certainly be a technique that you have used since we talk about this a lot. Finding citing articles is a really excellent way to not only find related research, but to find more recent related research. Because when you were looking at the citing articles, those are the articles which cited your original article. That means you will be moving forward in time, given that the citing articles are building off the research established in your original article. And so there are also many library databases that offer, that offer citing articles. And this is what I was looking for here. We have a guide on citing articles, which is linked from within this box. But Google Scholar may perhaps be the best source for discovering citing articles since it is the most comprehensive. So it's pulling from the most records. So as we look in Google Scholar, if we locate an article that we like, either within this search, or let's say we have an article, we found it in Roadrunner, it's an excellent article for our research, and this is the article of interest to us. What I can do is copy that article title. I can paste it into Google Scholar so that I get the record for that article. Here is my single record for that article. What I'm interested in are the cited by 7. That's going to show me the 7 articles that came after that original article but referred back to it. That way I can make sure that I am seeing the more recent research associated with that original article. You can also set up alerts because this article, we know we're seeing the 7 articles that have cited it since it was published in October 2021, okay? But let's say somebody cites this article tomorrow. We want to be able to find out about that. And the way that we can find out about that is by creating an alert. So this is a different type of an alert than we saw previously. Our previous search alert, our previous alert in Google Scholar was a search alert, just going by the search terms that we plugged into Google Scholar. Here, we're going to create an alert to get notified anytime a new researcher cites that original research article that we located. So we can see that title of that research article dash new citations. So we know we're in the right place. We're going to get notified of new citations related to that article. So again, pop in whatever email you would like to use and create that alert. I like to click on all results as well. Again, there are some additional databases that you can use. One that comes to mind that's really great, and we'll explore that in a few moments, is Web of Knowledge. Web of Knowledge does provide citing articles as well. Just keep in mind that the number of citing articles you see in Google Scholar is always going to be greater than that in Web of Knowledge. The reason for that is because you will only view the citing articles for subscribed content in Web of Knowledge. All right. not subscribe content, index content. Basically content that appears in Web of Knowledge, though, is what you need to know. Okay, so next, find related articles. This is very similar to finding the citing articles, but databases typically have a find related results feature that you will see. Sometimes it will say similar results, related results, recommended articles, and so we have an entire related results guide too that you can navigate to and see which databases provide this feature. Again, Roadrunner Search and Google Scholar do provide this capability. I don't necessarily recommend it highly in Roadrunner Search, but I'll show you what happens. So we have the find similar results using smart text searching located on a detailed record screen for an article of interest to us. We can click on that, but watch what happens within our results. Essentially, Roadrunner's looking for any of the terms in the title or the abstract or the subject terms, or let's see. Yeah, I think through the abstract and the subject terms. So you see all of that just plastered in our search box. Because of that, we have over 17.5 million search results. And so this becomes quite unmanageable. If you use the smart text searching, the find similar results feature in Roadrunner, don't spend a lot of time here. Just kind of skim because ideally your most relevant results will appear at the top and you can just see, well, did this do me any good? Am I seeing related results here for the article that I selected? But it works a lot more efficiently here in Google Scholar. And I'll tell you why, because in Google Scholar, it's going to look for related articles based on shared citations, I think. I don't think we know exactly what the algorithm is here in Google Scholar, but I believe it's based on shared citations. That means it's trying to find articles that share similar citations and references. And so that means that they're probably more likely to be related if they're sharing some of the same references. So here we can click on related articles. The drawback with this related articles feature in Google Scholar or any database is that related articles are not necessarily newer. So you could be going either forwards or backwards in time when you are looking at those related articles. But Google Scholar is a great starting point. Unfortunately, there's no other way to narrow down results. You'll see on the left-hand side, we don't have that date limiter here. We can't search within the results. All we can do is rely on this relevancy sorting to see what articles are recommended as, or not recommended, but are coming up as related to our original. So I suggest looking for any articles, original research articles that you are using in your dissertation, checking them out in Google Scholar to see who has cited them, if any, setting up a citing articles alert once on that page, and then also setting and also looking at the related articles. Okay, moving along here, we are now going to talk about using the A to Z databases tool to use additional databases because you may be relying either solely or mostly on that Roadrunner search, which is great. I love Roadrunner search. It's always my best starting point as well. But if you use a subject-specific database available from the A to Z databases link, this may be an excellent way to reveal articles that you did not see in your Roadrunner search results. So we're going to return to the library's homepage, and I'm going to click on A to Z databases. This is going to present you with all of the library's subscription databases, as well as a few non-subscription or open access databases like ERIC and PubMed. But for the most part, this is all subscription paid content. And we do have a pretty overwhelming number of databases, but we try to make it easy for you to identify kind of the major major databases in your area, in your broader subject area. And you can do that by going to the All Subjects drop-down menu and then choosing your area of interest. So if you're studying marriage and family science, for example, you can click on that heading. You'll see that it has dropped it down to 77 databases. And not only that, we have a best bets box at the top of the screen. This identifies the best bets, where we think it's the best starting point for research in that topic area. And so you can scroll down and see the others that are included in the best bets area. Same with any other discipline. If you're in education, for example, Education Research Complete may be a good starting point for looking at research in your area. These subject-specific databases will narrow your results to that broader subject area from the get-go. So because it's a different way of searching, a smaller database, you may find different things that did not necessarily turn up in that Roadrunner search. If you need any assistance with using any of the databases listed in A to Z, definitely don't hesitate to reach out to the library. We're happy to help with that. Okay, our next technique is using Web of Knowledge. I mentioned it briefly earlier. Web of Knowledge is a very unique database. It's a great tool for discovering more articles on your research topic, including seminal and high impact articles. You can also use Web of Knowledge to do in-depth analysis of citing articles for those that you have already found. So because Web of Knowledge is quite a different database, has tons of bells and whistles, we also provide a full workshop on using this database. So I haven't checked right now if there is one upcoming, but you can navigate to our events calendar, which I did from here within this guide, but you can also go to the library's homepage and go to Services, Library Events. And the event that you want to look for is called Am I Done? A Deep Dive into Finding More Research with Web of Knowledge. So this description starts out, have you exhausted all of your searches? Or do you feel like you're running in circles, finding the same articles over and over? Does that mean you're done? This workshop is really going to go into that issue and tackling that using the Web of Knowledge database. But I'm going to pop in just briefly into Web of Knowledge to give you a taste of what you can do with this database. You can do a search here, and that part works very similarly to other databases, except when we start searching, it's going to default to, let me tell you, all fields. So it's very similar to like in the Roadrunner search when we see, let me find that, when we see select a field optional, so that means you're searching all fields. So you're doing something very similar here in Web of Science. And so if I'm interested in teacher perceptions, I'm just going to type that in here without a quote for now, without the quotation marks. And I'm going to do remote teaching here. And I'm going to add a row and say COVID-19. And then I'm going to press search. And again, we're not going to worry too much about these results. I just want to show you the things that you can do once you are here. And so I have a set of results here. I can create an alert to get notified of new articles that match these search terms. I can also look at a citation report. So I click that right here. Now it's spinning. So among these 43 articles in my search results, they have 405 citing articles. And so I can click on that to see all of those citing articles. Or I can scroll down and I can visualize those by year. So in other words, from this first article, it was cited 77 times in 2021, and 2022 it was cited 67 times already. So this article is really getting a lot of action, right? 146 citing articles in the past 2 years. And of course, this is an emerging topic, so we're not seeing anything for 2020 or before that, or maybe a couple right here. So you can scroll down and see each of those articles in our results and how many times they are cited. So it's a great way to find related research. You can also click on Analyze Results here. And this is going to bring you to an Analyze Results screen, which allows you to, again, sort of visualize the results in different ways. Right now, the visualization we are looking at is called the tree map chart. And we can change that to a bar chart if that is something that we prefer. But I'm going to hop back to the tree map, what they call. And then as I hover over things, I can see that 2 records from my search were categorized as like educational research, 12 somehow are environmental studies, 3 are psychology, educational. And this is also something I can change by looking at this big blue area, which says Web of Science categories. If you're interested in kind of seeing what main authors write on this topic, you can pull up the number of times each author has written about that within our search results. And then also a third one that you may want to play around with is very similar to the Web of Science categories. That was the default, but you can change that to research areas. And so again, you can see most of them are educational research. We have 2 in linguistics, and we can click View Records to jump out to those. So again, because there's so much to cover here in Web of Knowledge, I can't go any further on this, but I just wanted to show you that it's a great way to expand your research by using all of these special tools to lead you to related research. Okay. Another tool that we can use is called Sage Navigator. Sage Navigator is also a very unique database in that it provides an extensive overview of social science topics, including business, education, psychology. But there's only about 300 records here because, again, it's a very broad level. The benefit, though, is that they provide key readings, so 60 to 120 recommended readings from the key literature, including journal articles, books, and more. And these sources have been hand-selected by experts in their field, saving you valuable time in identifying seminal research. So I'm going to pop in there. When you think about using Sage Navigator, you have to think about it very, very broadly. So in other words, if my topic is remote instruction during the COVID-19 pandemic, I want to look very broadly at maybe like distance education or online teaching, online learning, something like that. I'm going to close this and try to open it again because I don't know why it wasn't loading. All right. Not seeing that open now. I'm going to give it a few more minutes, but I'm going to skip it and jump into, actually, let's see. There we go. I'm not sure why it took so long. Okay, so here we are in Sage Navigator. We have a search box here at the top or in the center of the screen, and you will want to use this in order to search. The central search box here. The top of the screen, if you use this search, you'll be searching across Sage Knowledge, not just Navigator. So let's go ahead and put in a search term here, and I'll do online learning. And if there's no Navigator resource related to online learning, I should see the most relevant coming to the top. And sure enough, I do see an online learning major work. So I'm going to click on that. As I scroll down, I see a summary. I also see an overview section, so I can read that. It scrolls down with that entire overview of that topic. But then also, I'm really interested in this key readings section. The key readings, it will plot for you on this chart here or graph. And as I hover over that, I can see the articles that were published in that year or resources related to that topic. And then as I scroll down, I can see volume 1, part 1. When I expand that, that is identifying all of those key readings. And so these key readings are typically very highly cited resources, very impactful in the field, and we can take a look at one as an example. If I copy this article title and then paste it into Google Scholar, I'm just going to use the same window that I had open, and I'm going to press enter. I'll see that it's been cited 95 times. Now that isn't extremely highly cited because it is a little bit older. It's from 2004. So I would have expected a higher number of citing articles, but it is included within Sage Navigator for a reason. So it must have made some significant impact on the field. So this is a good way to also determine that you have covered effectively that seminal research related to your broader research area. So maybe, within your lit review, at the very broadest level, when you're talking about the history of that topic, maybe some of these could work into that area. All right, going back to our Exhausting the Literature guide and our steps to take section, we're really moving our way through this and we're coming up to the end of these steps. Our next step is using our Interlibrary Loan system. So I'm going to go back to Roadrunner Search in order to demonstrate this because many times students will automatically say, I only want articles that are in full text. Well, especially for doctoral students who are doing long-term research, we do not recommend that you check this full text box because effectively what that would do is eliminate from your search results any records to articles that could be right on topic for you, but yet we don't have in full text immediately from the library. You still want to be able to find out about those articles so that you could place a request through our free Interlibrary Loan service. So what I want to demonstrate now is how to use that service. And you'll know when you see one of these articles that has this green 360 link to full text, that's when you know we may or may not have that resource. It's going to go one of two ways here. We'll either link out directly to that content in the library or we will need to place that request. So let's see what happens for this one. Okay, this one I can tell already that we do have. So I want to find one that we definitely do not have so that you can see how to place that request. And sometimes it's a little bit tricky to find content that we do not have since we have so much. Okay. I'm going to try a different page here. Okay. All right, here's one link to full text. That one I saw after I clicked it, it looks like this is available online, freely available. So I'm going to keep going here. All right, let's try this one here. Okay, this is exactly what I was looking for. This tells us that this may not be available in the NCU library. You can use one of the options below to get it. So you can always double check access to the International Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Systems in this case by looking for that in this Find a Resource tool, which you can access here. Or you can check it in Google Scholar, but typically when you land here, we do not have the content. So you can click Interlibrary Loan Requests. Now, if you are a brand new user to Interlibrary Loan, this is not automatically created for you an account. So what you'll need to do is click on Set Reset Password in order to get that going. Since I already have an account, I'm going to sign in, and I want to show you how quick and simple it is to place that request. Essentially, the system is going to populate all of that article information for you. So we have the journal title, the date, the volume, the issue didn't populate, so there might not have been one, the authors, etc. The only thing that I need to do is enter the course that I'm currently enrolled in and then press Submit Request at the bottom of the screen. And once you have done that, the request is in the system, and you can always go to View Your Request to see where that request is in the process. Once your request has been fulfilled, you will get an email letting you know that it's available. You can link out to it from that email, or you can visit here, your Interlibrary Loan account, and you can download that article. So you'll see that on my screen, they all say link expired. And that is because after 30 days time, that article will disappear from your Interlibrary Loan account, and you'll see this Request Again button. All that means is that within 30 days, before the 30 days time is up, you'll want to come in here and download that article to your own computer. So Interlibrary Loan is sort of a misnomer in this case because you actually keep that article forever. So this is how this will work. Of course, we entered into Interlibrary Loan from the library's Roadrunner search. You can also access your account from the library's homepage by going to Services, Interlibrary Loan, and you'll be able to log into your account there as well. All right, going back to our Exhausting the Literature guide, one of our last techniques is examining the timeline. And so when we talk about examining the timeline, we're talking about have you thoroughly examined the timeline of scholarly conversation surrounding your research topic? Are there earlier resources that establish foundations or theories? Again, going back to that date limiter, you don't want that on in most cases. And are there more relevant or recent sources that build on previous works or present emerging ideas? Examining the overall timeline is a great way to ensure that you have exhausted the literature. And there are some library databases that we saw, like Web of Knowledge and also Sage Navigator, that provide chronology tools to help you visualize research over time. And so you can go into those databases. These should be hyperlinked. I'll hyperlink those. You can go into those databases to look at those features further, but I'm going to click on this Dimensions online website, which brings together grants, publications, citations, alternative metrics, clinical trials, patents, and policy documents all in one place. And so we can use their basic search box at the top of the screen. And I'm going to look at remote teaching. And I'm just going to click search. And Dimensions may sort of, I guess, favor some disciplines over another, but you'll see that it's listing over 29,000 publications in 2022 related to remote teaching. I can also see that plot here on the right-hand side of the screen. So I can go to those plots, and actually it doesn't navigate, you can't manipulate this graph, but on the left-hand side of the screen you can narrow that to just a particular year. So that is one tool that also will help link you to related articles and visualize that timeline of scholarly conversation or publication surrounding a particular topic. And that sort of brings us to our last step, which is getting librarian assistance. And so, of course, you can contact the library via phone, chat, text, and email during our posted hours, which I will show you right now. This is how you would get live help, chatting, calling, texting. Texting would only be good for very simple directional questions, not in-depth questions about finding your scholarly literature. But you can also submit questions to Ask a Librarian or email, especially after hours if we're not available live. So that is how to get just day-to-day help. But in addition to that, we do provide a research consultation service. And this is available to all doctoral students, no matter what phase you are at. You don't have to be at the end where you think you're trying to exhaust your literature. You can be at the beginning stage. But basically what this service is designed to do, it's designed to allow you to meet one-on-one with a reference librarian to help find appropriate resources and search techniques related to your topic. And so because this is very personalized to your research topic, we have to prepare for these sessions well in advance. So they are booked 3 days in advance, Monday through Friday, and we ask you to provide significant information about your research topic and what you're struggling with, as well as some example articles. This all helps us to prepare fully for your session. And so failure to provide all of the requested information may result in delaying that appointment time or canceling even. So let me show you how to do that. Of course, you can link out to it from here, but I'm going to show you from the library's homepage how to make that request. You'll go to the Services drop-down menu and click on Research Consultations. And then on that Research Consultations guide, you can read again more about the service, but when you're ready to schedule, you'll click Schedule Research Consultation on the left. You'll want to leave it as no preference for librarian. That way you see all of the upcoming availability. Once you choose a date and time, that's when you're able to continue and put in all of that research topic information that we have requested. So that wraps up our session on exhausting the literature. I do know that it is a lot of content. You're not going to do all of these steps in one weekend, right? But work your way through these steps to take, of course, contacting us with any questions along the way. And this guide is your best resource to getting all of the information that we discussed in this workshop. I hope that this has been helpful, and please don't hesitate to reach out to the library for any assistance. We're always happy to help.